lead us in the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We have a lot to get through this evening, and we had a very productive communication subcommittee meeting prior to this meeting. The update will follow. That's really all I have for this evening. Friday marks the beginning of the April vacation, so to all, take a to all staff and administration, take a well-deserved break. And any of you who are traveling, travel safely, please. Any citizens' comments? I'm going to limit those to 3 minutes. Do I have any citizens' comments at this time? Hearing none, we'll move on to our liaisons and student spotlight. Kevin.
First of all, Zainab apologized that she couldn't be here tonight. She had to pick up an injured coworker shift. But otherwise, for current events this month, track, baseball, and softball, all their seasons are underway. Every Friday in April and May, Turtlet is holding a fundraiser for Ukraine. April 8th, the Voice for Change winners were announced by the Department of Education with the Future of Fitness team winners. This Wednesday, the leadership team will be having an in-service meeting. The 27th is the Integrity Plus night at the District Auditorium, which all Board of Ed members are invited to. The 2nd of May is the NHS induction. The 3rd is the Student Council meeting at 7 o'clock. The TMHS Music Spring Concert is the 4th, and on May 5th is the first AP exam of the year, the AP Statistics exam. We received 3 student voice forms this month. The first had to do with intercession for the 2022-2023 school year. Due to students having to take AP classes during intercession, students are finding themselves behind in taking required courses for graduation. For example, some of next year's juniors who need fine arts or STEM credits will not be able to take them during intercession because of their AP classes and instead have to take them during their regular schedule. This makes it so there are juniors in their toughest year of high school without a study hall. An example is a student who will be taking AP Language, AP Biology, Honors Early American History, Health, Gym, and Spanish 3. If this 3-sport athlete also takes the elective she needs, she will not have a study hall. If she were able to take intercession classes, she could fulfill her elective requirement and still have the study time she needs. So the leadership team will be discussing how upcoming juniors are supposed to be boxed in by their schedules. There are some unintended consequences by intercession, so we were wondering how we can go about solving this. And we're also wondering, can AP classes not run during intercession so that all students can benefit from the credit opportunities? An additional reason is because as intercession is scheduled for next year, the second portion of AP intercession will be after the AP exams because those take place in early May, and the second part of intercession will be at the end of the school year. For snacks for students, the Tiger Mart, which is a section of the school where there's free snacks and some sort of household goods, has not been restocked for a long time. Students would specifically like more snacks in the Mart because they're hungry throughout the school day. We were discussing if there was any way we could get more snack donations for the Tiger Mart. And on concerns for the mental health of students, the mental health of the student body has been struggling, and it has been visible for months now. A student wrote that May is Mental Health Awareness Month, so they were asking if we could do something to address and educate the students on some mental health topics and give the students resources so they can reach out. And they were wondering if the student body could have more mental health program for the month of May, so that's something we'll discuss during our leadership meeting on Wednesday. Any questions from the board?
Just one. Related to mental health, like, give me an example, like, what are some of the challenges that are going on? Is it dealing with, what exactly?
Right. Students have reported feeling, isolated, just general anxiety, symptoms of, just really struggling with basically anything. I mean, it's sort of hard to pinpoint what everybody, generalize what everybody's struggling with, but a lot of students, both in and out of the student council, have reported that they've been struggling lately.
So it could be home as well
Right.
as, school. So it's not just isolated to school issues.
Right.
Okay.
There is a mental health task There's a group of students and teachers that have come together to address that very issue. And so I would suggest and Dr. Mayo, I'm certain, is on this call today, when he returns after break, perhaps pulling that committee back together, so that we can bring more activities during the month of May and June for mental health awareness. Just so you know, intercession is being worked on. We do have some student advocates that came to see me. So we are looking at that for next year. And Tigermont, the snack issue, that's not an issue. We will talk to Ms. St. Cyr, who's been very generous to our Tigermont through It Starts at Home. So I am sure that we can fill that up.
All right, thank you.
Not stealing Heather's thunder, but maybe one of the topics that we were just talking about, that might be an opportunity, which you'll all hear in a minute when Heather gives her report.
Thank you.
No student spotlight?
Oh, no, none for this month. Allison
Okay.
couldn't make it.
Okay. Then our next item of business is the approval of the minutes from our March 14th meeting.
Motion to approve.
I'll second it. Okay, motion made, second. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote on the motion to approve the minutes. All in favor of approving the minutes of our Monday, March 14th, 2022 meeting, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? No? Then the minutes pass. Next order of business is our subcommittee updates.
Yep, so we just had a subcommittee meeting, and we jam-packed the hour with a bunch of stuff. Mostly the beginning and the bulk of it was about talking about how we can convey and get information out to the town and taxpayers regarding budget, to also explain to them all of the great things and accolades that are happening at the school. A lot of times, sometimes communications get around within families, but not necessarily out to the public at large. We just want to make sure that everybody kind of knows about all the great things happening here, as well as budget and what's included in the budget. So some of the things that we're doing is reaching out via Facebook and putting out graphics weekly to kind of put forth those kind of images and information. We're also putting together potentially a handout that we'll be getting out to the public the 2 weekends prior to the vote, that is informational to kind of explain what is in the vote and what the budget kind of will mean to the school and to the town if it is or isn't approved. We're reaching out to all of the various alumni, PTO, all sorts of groups that we can kind of utilize to get that information out. Another thing that we are working on, we've got a bunch of new ideas that the communications group subcommittee is trying to maybe put forth for starting next year potentially. One of them is this idea of an incentives program. After hearing what Deb Spinelli had said about really the lack of interest in sports and the numbers are dwindling and all of this sort of stuff, it kind of hit me a little hard. And so I went back to my son, who is a Turtelot student, and asked him, what would get the kids excited? And so one of the things that we had kind of talked about was, prizes kind of get people excited. So I met with Melinda as well as the principals in the middle school and the high school, and we discussed the potential of starting an incentives program, initially with the thought of it being just on sports, but then it kind of blossomed into a bigger picture that really will give incentives for all sorts of things, hitting all of the items that we feel may be lacking, and this could be, we're working out with the tech department at the school to maybe have an app that can track these points. Points can be earned per quarter,
and they can be earned for as something as simple as attendance, participating in an activity, whether it be a club or a sport, even attending a sport as a spectator can earn you incentive points. And at the end of the quarter, we will have a tier that potentially, once it's met by various students that have reached that tier, that they could potentially win a field trip type prize. What that is still TBD, but it could be renting out a movie theater or some kind of fun activity that those kids would enjoy. So that's the idea, is that we want to roll that out maybe starting next year, with kind of putting it out to the students by the end of this year to kind of get them excited about what's coming. Another thing that was being discussed was the potential of doing a mentoring program, possibly called Little Tiger, Big Tiger, possibly with alumni, to kind of hook up seniors with freshmen, to really kind of get them more engaged and to kind of help them navigate their high school career, and then also potentially with alumni to help them kind of see further on in the future, whether it be job shadowing or any of that sort of stuff. So there's a bunch of kind of big ideas that we've kind of come up with that we're hoping to maybe start implementing as soon as next year.
Thank you, Heather. I
Yeah.
mean, this communications subcommittee is really going guns a-blazing here. I just appreciate it very much. Thank you. Also, anything from Matt? I know you've been working, we're going to approve a policy tonight.
Yes, tonight we're going to approve a policy for the distribution of medications in school, and that was basically, it's just an update. And also we are working with our legal team to update other things. We're going to schedule a meeting and have some more clarification on that.
Thank you. Anything on the alumni? Or?
Nothing's changed on the alumni side, except, obviously they had a very good fundraiser at the Beauty and the Beast. So that went off very well.
That was great.
Yeah. As for the Turtle Rock Trust, we are in the final stages of the preparation of an RFP that will be going out to additional financial planners to try to maintain, or at least see if we can capitalize a little bit more on the market, not be so conservative. But right now, the fund balance, which Kathleen just made me aware of, it was 2.7 million, and we lost 150,000 basically in less than 30 days.
No, a quarter.
A quarter, I'm sorry. So right now the balance is about 2.6 million. We need to maintain 2.3 million in the fund. We're allocating this year, I think, 250,000 in the budget for more renovations in the 1909 building. So it's going to be tight, but hopefully the markets will rebound and we'll get back to at least our balance.
It's only because of the volatility of the markets right now, so.
One of the things is we, with Bill Birch, we've been exploring a number of opportunities up at the school. So there will be renovations going on the masonry work at the entry of the building, which has been a little bit of an insurance nightmare. Uneven masonry, so that's going to be fixed. We're able to put that in with some funds that we still have left over from the window project from a credit. Replacement windows that came in that were wrong have been corrected, reordered, which are now 18 to 22 weeks out. So that project's been, or will be, kind of on hold until those windows come in. And then, as I mentioned before, we will be repainting the top windows so they match all the time period architecturally correct coloration, which is a beige. Don't go by what I said, which I like the brown. Always ask for other committee members and their opinions. And I agree, it looks much better now after I've looked at it a few times, so.
Okay.
Polite way of saying don't always take the guy's opinion. Right?
All right, thank you, Tom. All right, I'm gonna turn it over now to Superintendent Smith for the enrollment up. You wanted to report?
Thank you, Chairman Herbert. So this month, we don't have a change in total enrollment. We have a total of 927 students in Thompson Public Schools. There's not been a change at Mary R. Fisher. Last month it was 417 students. We currently have 417. Same at the middle school, 293. This month, 293 as well. Last month, 217 at the high school, and this month, 217 at Turtle Rock. There's been some activity of coming students in and out. However, at the end of the day, the numbers have remained stable. We currently have, as of, let's see, out of district students, and I'm sure Mr. Jones will elaborate, there are 28 students. And homeschool students, we currently have 66 that we currently have documentation for. Anybody have any questions? Okay, so I'm going to turn COVID update to our Director of Nurses, Shannon Brower, to give us a update.
Good evening, everybody. So since the last time we met, we've had 15 cases, 8 students, 7 staff members. And that's kind of, most of our staff was vaccinated, so most of the staff are vaccinated staff who have gotten it. We have a lot of colds around that aren't related to COVID. We have strep throat around, and we do have flu around right now. Masks are optional. I think that's going well. I haven't heard any feedback about any issues. We have them available in each school if anybody needs them or wants them. And that's about it.
And I think that the student body has been very respectful of one another. If students are
Absolutely.
wearing masks or not wearing masks, there isn't any teasing or bullying or any of that happening. They're being very respectful, so we appreciate that.
It's good to hear. Okay, come back to you.
So every year, the superintendent makes recommendations for non-renewal. And non-renewal can be for non-tenured folks that either we're going to recommend non-renewal due to performance, or we recommend non-renewal because we want to have some wiggle room in the budget. In the past, when we did non-renewals, we laid off all of the non-tenured staff. And since COVID, we got away from that. And actually last year, we knew we needed all our staff back. And there wasn't any recommendation to non-renew anyone actually last year. We didn't want to add, I think the board didn't want to add another layer of stress to have people worry about that during the months of May and possibly into June. This year, however, we do have a list of 8 teachers that we are recommending for non-renewal. They are both for performance and then also for giving us a couple of positions of wiggle room. We do need those positions, but we want to be able to have the flexibility if I have to move folks around, being able to do that. So you have a list of 8 that I sent you earlier, and I would just like approval to go forward with those non-renewals.
Can I hear a motion to,
I'll make a motion that we move forward with the superintendent's recommendation.
I'll second it. Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none. The motion was made to,
Non-renew.
to approve or to go with Superintendent Smith's recommendation of teacher non-renewals. And, It's the law, we have to give them notice.
Yeah, we have to give them notice.
All right, so wait a minute.
But we don't have to vote
Wait a minute.
on this. We can say no to this. In the past, we sent out notice to all of the non-tenured. So
Okay.
I don't disagree that we have to do it.
Okay,
I disagree that we're doing it this way. And I
Okay.
know that we're gonna call a lot back. It doesn't sit right with me.
all right,
So-
that's fine.
Can we go back to
You're calling for
discussion?
your vote.
Okay, so you want to, okay, well, that's what we're discussion, then, that's the discussion.
Well, you called for a vote, nobody said anything, so that's why
I called for discussion.
you called for a vote.
I'm sorry, I called for discussion.
Yeah, I thought she did too, but.
I did, I called for discussion and you
Yeah.
didn't say anything, that's why I called for a vote.
Right, exactly. You called for a vote, nobody voted. That's why I was giving you my opinion.
Well, when I called for discussion, that's when you should have said something.
We go back to discussion now?
Yes,
Okay,
go back for discussion,
so,
because then we can take the
right,
motion off the floor.
right, so, well, I put it to motion so we could get to discussion.
And I did call for discussion.
I know you did, you're absolutely right, you did. I just didn't get my question, thought process out
Okay.
quick enough and we went to vote.
All right.
But anyways, I'm kind of under the same agreement that
Alright.
Bill just brought up. And I put this to motion just so we could get to this
All
part.
right, that's fair.
This will allow us, and I guess for clarification, it allows us the flexibility to recall.
Correct.
But by law, we have to
Mhm.
lay off, or whatever you wanna call it, terminate or lay off, by
Yep.
what date?
May 1st.
It is May 1st.
Yes. So we have to, make a the board has to recommend the non-renewal, so that I can get out a notice, this week to those employees. And then in June, pending budget or whatever happens, and with teacher evaluations or whatever, come back and rescind those folks that, and the number is 8. When we lay off all non-tenured, that number could go as high as, where's Danielle, 30? And so, I met with the union leadership, and I was told that I could lay off based on, principal recommendations, and so that's what's before you now.
Okay. All right, so that's why it's here tonight, because it's May 1st is the deadline.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
I just have a question for curiosity. So when we do this sort of thing where we don't renew, how many of those folks sometimes then walk and find other employment, and then we're left with a deficit and then scrambling last minute to find a replacement? What usually happens there?
So sometimes, but not in this case, the year the budget didn't get passed after 5 referendums, those people ended up collecting from the Board of Ed, because we weren't able to rescind them, because we didn't know what was gonna happen with the budget. So they, went all summer long, some of those folks, until we could recall them at the end of the summer. And you are right, that some of them went out and sought other employment. The list before you are for 2 reasons, for performance and for the fact that I have 2 positions there for some budget flexibility.
I think too, we need to be responsible in knowing that the Board of Finance is putting forth, or wanting to put forth a cut, so we kinda have to be ahead of what's going to happen. And I personally know of a family that, had a para that they adored, but the para had to go somewhere else because of the situation where they had to let all the tenure off and they needed to find employment. And then they were called back and, they were devastated. So for me, I think that this is, personally, I think the better solution, instead of having 30 people worrying.
Another question, what is the concern with the fact that there are positions shortages? We have schools in the area that are having trouble filling positions, that we may run into this come.
Well, so talking about performance, right?
Mhm.
We don't want to keep someone on, in a classroom
Right.
that aren't meeting the expectations of the district. So we have to go out, and so the sooner we can get these positions out, we will post them internally in May, and externally simultaneously, so that we can start to recruit now, while we're getting new students that are graduating from universities and colleges, in early. I know Michelle is here, and she has already gone to some job fairs where she has started to solicit, people to apply for positions here. So I'm really excited, having an HR director that can reach out and do that and go to those job fairs. So we already have potential new hires in the hopper, based on the work that she's done.
Any other discussion? Any other thoughts on this? It makes more sense to me that to lay off only the 8 rather than a universal or unilateral layoff of everybody, and especially in these times when people are very likely to walk for better positions, higher paying positions, than it is to and we won't know if we're getting any, that the 30 are gonna come back. We don't wanna lose these people. We don't wanna put them under the stress of, I know it's been past practice to lay everybody off and then bring everybody back in June, but we do stand an additional risk in these times of losing some of those people we don't wanna lose.
Here's my problem with that. You're gonna lay off 8 people and you're saying, well, 2 of them for wiggle room. So you're pretty much, when we know who's not coming back, you're pretty much telling the entire population of town, we got rid of these people because of non-performance. And I don't think that's right to do. Now, we've done it in the past where we've done all non-tenured and rarely has it been a problem. Yes, from time to time, and if it goes on too long without passing a budget, it gets worse and worse. I understand that. I don't like as I wouldn't wanna put somebody through the stress of not knowing if they have a job. I don't wanna put somebody through the stress of pointing out to the whole town that they're not a good teacher.
That's a good
All right, so if there's a little anonymity in there, I would rather do it that way. That's my opinion.
Well, that's a valid point, though. But how many people in town do know that who gets laid off? We try to keep that
Everybody,
close to our vest.
it's public knowledge, right? I gave you my opinion.
Yes, you do.
I don't know if there's a way to do anonymity in it anyways. I mean, it's kind of,
Right, you lay the 30 off and then 24
yeah.
come back.
No, I mean, I understand what you're saying, Bill. I just don't know how do you, I mean,
How have we
if
done
the
it in
person
past?
talks, the
How have we
person.
done it in the past? We've always done it the other way.
For the past 2 years, we have not.
Because we didn't have a chance on even voting on the budget.
Well, we can certainly,
Do you want me to reword?
No,
my
if you
motion?
guys wanna do this, it's all right. I don't agree with it, but if the rest I'm only one of 9. If the rest of the board agrees
No, I
with
know,
it,
but
it's
should I
okay.
reword my motion for,
It's up to you. You wanna rescind your motion and put it out, or you wanna keep your motion, we'll vote on it, and then put out, if it passes, if it doesn't, we can do another motion, that's up to you.
well, I'm just saying, do I just modify my motion so it has anonymity added to it?
How do you do it?
I don't know.
It's
That's-
supposed to be enough, you don't,
It's an HR issue, so it has to have confidentiality.
yeah, it's supposed to be confidential, it's an HR issue. Now, those people are gonna go and talk, but that's their problem.
That's theirs, that's not us.
Right, because if they're laid off. That doesn't mean, like past practices, they were laid off, that doesn't mean that they can't come back.
Right.
As in the past. We're not gonna tell them they're not gonna come back. We're not firing them, we're giving them, until we do fire them in June, right?
Well,
I don't know the
That was a little
answer.
harsh.
Well, we can rescind some of those votes.
Okay, we have the ability to rescind the layoff.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand what Bill is saying. I am really scared about the idea of just laying off all the tenured folks and then having
Well,
the
that's-
good shining stars leave, you know?
Yeah, that's
That is
my
troubling to
feeling
me.
for this, in this environment that we're in now.
Right.
Where we can't find teachers to teach what we need to teach.
Right.
To lay off 30 people, that's my opinion. And you do have the opportunity to rescind the layoff for non-tenured, which we have always done in the past. And if some of these are for performance, and some of these are for what Superintendent Smith is calling wiggle room, we will be rescinding some of these.
so if we don't do this
Mhm.
before May 1st,
Everybody comes back.
everybody comes back
Correct,
and we're stuck until the following year.
correct.
So by May, okay, never mind.
Never mind.
Never mind, gotcha.
So we have to do something tonight.
Okay.
And because it's an HR issue, this is supposed to be confidential.
Okay.
Now, whether they go and whatever they say, but this is prior year's practices.
Okay.
And it's done individually, so they don't know that they all didn't support it, unless they talk among themselves. My thoughts would be.
Okay.
All right, so, do we wanna take a vote? I don't.
You have a motion and a second, so you might as well take a
Yep,
vote.
okay, I'm gonna put that motion and that second up for a vote. All right. All in favor of doing the 8 layoffs of non-tenured teacher per Superintendent Smith's recommendation, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say no.
No.
All abstaining? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion passes. Which one, May, you got that? Okay, again, we have our healthy food certification approval,
And so Lisa is here.
okay?
Okay, I can read just this little paragraph that tells you a little bit better explains it than I did last time. The Healthy Food Certification Statute requires that each local Board of Ed or governing authority for public schools participating in the National School Lunch Program each year must certify whether all food items sold to students separately from reimbursable meals will or will not meet the Connecticut nutrition standards. So, their eligibility requirements require that the Board of Ed must complete a vote on the required motion language, which I have here. Do you have the copy of it, Danielle?
Yeah, we
Okay.
did.
So the motion language, for healthy food options is one thing they'll have to vote on. And then the second one is a combined, food and beverage exemption, so there's 2 motions that you have to. Do
Okay.
you want me to read it, or?
No,
Okay.
I'm gonna ask, somebody to read them, as a motion, so, Lisa, I had a question though, doesn't motion 2 negate motion number 1?
Well, motion number 1 is to do with, like we have on our cold lunch counters, we have a la carte sales, so we sell baked chips and low-fat ice cream items and things like that, items that come off of a list that's approved by the CSDE. Motion 2 is more for events outside of school where they allow exemptions. You can allow, maybe if you're going to do an approved snack, you can also do an unapproved snack kind of thing. So motion 2 is to allow for exemptions during events. And motion 1 is for during the school day.
Okay, all right, Heather, would you read motion number one, because it has to be read exactly as.
Okay. Motion language for a healthy food option. Pursuant to CGS Section 10-215F, the Board of Education or governing authority certifies that all food items offered for sale to students in the school under its jurisdiction and not exempted from the Connecticut Nutrition Standards published by the Connecticut State Department of Education will comply with the Connecticut Nutrition Standards during the period of July 1st, 2022 through June 30, 2023. This certification shall include all food offered for sale to students separately from reimbursable meals at all times and from all sources, including but not limited to school stores, vending machines, school cafeterias, culinary programs, and any fundraising activities on school premises sponsored by the school or non-school organizations and groups.
Can I have a second to that motion, please? Okay, Danielle, second. Whoops, we lost. No. Okay, so Danielle seconded the motion. Any discussion on this motion? No. Okay, I'm gonna put the motion to a vote. All in favor of the motion, number one?
That's okay. I just wanna clarify that these are two separate things.
Yes.
And voting for one does not preclude voting for the
No.
other. Okay.
No.
I
We have
just
to
wanna
vote- we have to
absolutely
vote
make
on both of
positively
them.
sure, yes.
That's like, they kind of, to me, it kind of negated it.
Well, the second one is for after-school activities and
Yeah,
things like that,
right.
so I just wanted,
But they're on school property, and this one says that you can't do anything but, it's a little vague here, or a little confusing, that's all. Okay, so we're gonna take a vote on motion number one, which was that we will comply with Connecticut nutrition standards, during the school day on school property. All in favor say aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion number one passes unanimously. Hey, Danielle, would you like to read motion number two for
Sure.
us?
Motion language for combined food and beverage exemptions. The Board of Education or governing authority will allow the sales to students of food items that do not meet the Connecticut nutrition standards and beverages not listed in section 10-221Q of the Connecticut General Statutes, provided that the following conditions are met. 1, the sale is in connection with an event occurring after the end of the regular school day or on the weekend. 2, the sale is at the location of the event. And 3, the food and beverage items are not sold from vending machine or school store. An event is an occurrence that involves more than just a regularly scheduled practice, meeting, or extracurricular activity. For example, soccer games, school plays, and interscholastic debates are events, but soccer practices, play rehearsals, and debate team meetings are not. The regular school day is the period from midnight before to 30 minutes after the end of the official school day. Location means where the event is being held and must be the same place as the food and beverage sales.
Do I have a second to that?
Second.
All right, all in favor of motion number two for combined food and beverage exemptions, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion number two passes. Okay, I have had a request to move up H zona or bus tracking app update. Since we have some of the public here that are anxious for this, for discussion on this item, so I will do that.
Yes, so we had a request from a board member to get an update on the GPS tracking. on our buses. So we have our representatives here from DADCO, we have the vice president here, Bryony, and we have Kat, our local coordinator. So they're gonna talk to us a little bit about the Zonar bus tracking app, some of the difficulties that they've had with the software.
And thanks for moving it up, it's quite a long drive home for me. So I've taken quite a look through what's gone on with the app over the past few weeks. Currently we've got 307 students who are being tracked through the app. We did hear of a number of issues that are getting raised after our supplier had done an update to there which shouldn't have been released. They'd been asked by another school district not to have buses being tracked when they were outside of the student's actual zone. They said it was a safety concern. Apparently somebody had been tracking a bus that shouldn't have been. We've got enough safety restrictions within there already so that you can only track a bus if it's a student that you have the details for. So it seemed to cause more upset here than benefits. So we had a word with these suppliers and they realised what they'd released by mistake and they withdrew that. It seems that having gone out, it just made other concerns bubble to the forefront on this whole app issue. So we've done a couple of things since then. We've gone through some retraining to make sure that we as a team fully understand all the different administrative elements behind it. There were a couple of misunderstandings on our side which would have had impacted maybe 5 or 6 buses on individual days over the space of a school year. So there's always going to be, there's the element of human error in anything, and yes, there's a few bits in there. We've redone our training, so I think that's all okay now. Then we've also been going through some tidying up of the routes to make sure that everything was linked correctly. You don't need to know the details behind that. We went through and rebuilt things. So when that happens, we need to send out notifications to ask parents to re-follow the route. We hadn't been told that was a requirement, so that's an update we've had recently. So I've been speaking to Kat about that, and there'll be some specific reach outs to parents of individual routes to be able to do any administration in the back of the route, which mean they need to re-follow it. We can contact the parents direct. So that should solve that one. And then Kat's been reaching out a couple of times to get updates on how things were going. So she sent out an update request to all the parents utilising the app to see how it was going 2-3 weeks ago, about that. And we've had 2 weeks of peace and quiet and nobody saying anything, which I thought was a wonderful run up to this meeting until today when we received 3 complaints. So, terrible timing. We sent those 3 complaints over to the developers because we couldn't find anything wrong. We could see the GPS was working on the vehicle. We knew that we'd done the administrative stuff correct in the background, so we had to get them to dig into it. Of the 3 versions, the 3 complaints we had, one of them, the developers can see that the parent had the notification switched off. So that's nothing that we control. The parent has to make sure the notifications are on. And I get you can switch things on off by mistake, so it'll happen. The other 2, everything was set correctly according to developers. So I was speaking to the development team 5 minutes before you guys came in, and she says that they cannot see anything wrong with that particular 2 complaints, and they'll be digging into that deeper. So when I get a further answer, if it's okay, can I email you with that answer, Superintendent Smith? Yeah. But that was our first complaints over the past 2 weeks, so I think we've eliminated the majority of these issues. If somebody does have complaints, then we need to know the details. We can't just guess at things. So if you are seeing anything, we do have the email address out there which you can send stuff to. If you see a problem, then the details we're going to need is what it is you're seeing that's going wrong, and then the date and time of the concern. We need to know the bus route that it's on and the student that you're tracking. And with that data, we can actually get into the system and recreate what you're seeing in your app, in your very account, and double check that you've got the right kind of zone set up, so we can advise if it's user error, or we can see if there's something coming through we can then share with the app developers. So that's the kind of level of data we need. It's a bit like when I say to the drivers, don't tell me your bus is broken. Is it that the windshield is smashed or the tyre is broken? You've got to give me a bit of detail here so I can dig into it. But we've got a lot of back and forth going on with the developers now to try and dig into these last 2 ones. And any further issues, please send in the details so that I can get them investigated properly, or advise you of you need to hit a button. Does that help?
It does. It does. I appreciate you actually digging into the problem. We do know that there were some issues with the developer themselves, and then we already had our own confusions going on. And then, of course, switching buses and combining buses, sometimes does cause for that to happen, but I know Kat, has been good about sending out notifications to families when that does occur.
That's good to
We
hear.
just need to make sure that that communication is ongoing and it's in real time, because our families rely on that tracking system so they can get to work, they can plan for when the bus is gonna get there. So, you know, if we can correct all of these things, I think then you'll see those complaints start to subside.
Completely understood. So I know Kat's been trying very hard with that. So I'm glad to hear it's working, and any problems, concerns, then let us know. You've got my contact details, or send the email address to the Thompson MyView.
Yes.
ThompsonMyView@datco.com. That one.
It's within the app
It's with
itself.
there we go.
If you can send me that email, and
Yes.
then the criteria that you want them to
Yes.
make sure that they
Mhm.
put, and then I'll send it out to all families.
Yep.
That way, there might be people not using the app because they got frustrated and have given up.
Mhm.
And they might want to retry it now that it's been
Yeah.
corrected.
927, I think you said, a third. That's not bad. So-
And ridership is up a little bit.
Mhm.
I think, you know, since we're starting to come out of the pandemic, so.
Mhm.
I don't know if anybody has any questions.
I do have, our PR department
Mhm.
making me little index cards, or little business cards. It tells you, it's gonna have, you put your student name, the student ID for the teachers to give to the parent. Cause I can't give out student IDs to anybody. That's not something I can do, so the teacher needs to fill out the little card and give it to the parent. So, and it has the access code, the app's name, the MyView email,
We can't
support,
remember.
it has all that on it. As soon as I get those, I'm gonna bring them to you.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other busing questions?
I think that takes care of the questions that I had on my end, so we'll see if it bubbles back. But I know that was a big concern we had with quite a few.
And a lot of parents voice their frustration
Mhm.
on social media, so it was best that you came in and explained to the board what had happened.
Fully understood.
Thank you.
No problems. If you need me again, happy to come.
Thank you.
One thing, Jess, do these, cards that are gonna be made, are they put through to the PTOs?
She said they would be teachers,
They're
they would be going to the
individual.
teacher, so I
Right,
don't
but
think
is
as a
it-
PTO that we should be distributing student information.
No, no.
Oh.
What I'm saying is just the information of if there's any issues that they can.
We could put out the information on how to contact the bus company, but I don't think we should be putting out the access code to the app because that's a
Oh,
safety
no.
violation,
Ah,
a
right,
safety
right,
issue for
okay.
other students, so.
Gotcha.
We could put out some information on the PTO Facebook pages on here's how to contact DATCO if you're having bus issues, just as another place to have it.
Right.
But we shouldn't be putting out
No, I
the
totally
app
agree.
information or the access code.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, but.
I'm gonna send out something to everyone
Yeah.
that has, you know, how to file a concern with DADCO.
Mhm.
And then Kat's gonna bring us those little cards, and then it'll be the, secretaries in the office that will more than likely have to put the student ID number on there and then get them to the classroom teachers to send home.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item up on the agenda is the PTO swim set.
Good evening. Hi. My name is Sarah Desolé, and this is Christine Sad. I'm the president of the PTO for Mary Fisher, and she's vice president. This evening, we're here to kind of give an update to the swing project that we put forth a few years ago, but due to COVID, things started happening. So just a little history. In 2019, the Unified Arts at Mary R. Fisher, along with the PTO, created a fundraiser which raised about $10,000. Once the money was raised, we then discussed with the Unified Arts how to spend that money for our students at the school. And it was decided at that time that the money would be best spent by purchasing swings. Right after that, COVID hit, and we ended up holding on to the money for the last 2 years. Fast forward to 2021, when our new board took office in August, we forged ahead in trying again to make the swing project come to fruition for our students who are now in the middle school. A few months ago, we received a quote for the site work to be roughly about $50,000, which does not include the $10,500 that the swings would cost. At this time, the site work has not started and is not slated to be completed, as it is not included in the current proposed fiscal budget for 2022-23 school year. The swings project would not be completed in an appropriate time frame, as the swings, if purchased, would cost over the original budgeted $10,000 and would be stored for an unknown period of time, leaving our students unable to enjoy what they've helped to fundraise for. Bringing this updated information back to the Unified Arts team, they have unanimously decided that the money would be best spent working on smaller projects to benefit the students at Mary R. Fisher and also the middle school. It was requested instead that we complete the budget overage for the reading garden that was spearheaded by the cultural committee and Mrs. Carol Rossetti. The donation of half of our swing fund would finish her balance owed for the project, and the rest of the funds would go to the UA teachers for their classroom needs. This would assist in the children having the ability to use the completed reading garden, which is also used by the middle school students. And the students would also receive further enrichment by what the UA teachers invest into their classrooms. We are requesting this evening that the Board of Ed honor the PTO's request to release the swing project. Once the site work is able to be completed, this is a project that could be completed by future PTO fundraising. Any questions?
I think that sounds great. I have a comment, but I think that sounds great.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Don't know that we need to do anything. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Did we vote to approve the project?
We did.
Then we have to vote to
Okay.
abandon the project probably.
Okay.
And let the PTO do what they want with the money. So I'll make a motion that we rescind the swing project and allow the PTO to disperse the funds as they see fit.
I will second that.
All right, we have a motion on the floor now to rescind the PTO swing project and to allow the PTO to spend their funds, $1,500 as they see fit. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll put that motion to the floor for a vote. All in favor of motion to rescind the PTO swing set, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Any abstentions?
And I abstain because I'm treasurer for PTO.
Okay. One abstention? So the ayes have it. The next item on the agenda is the medication distribution policy, which has been revised or updated.
So, if I may, the administration of student medications in the schools policy, item D in our packet, basically is just been updated in the way to allow, in addition to the school nurse being able to administer emergency medications, it includes a security coordinator and trained personnel. That's it, doesn't change anything else, that's the only thing, just gives the school more flexibility.
And that's specifically in relation to Narcan, because the state security officers have been trained and so have the personnel.
And that's on page 12.
12 of our
policy.
packet in red.
In red, okay, then that's the only place it's changed.
Well, the bottom of 11 as well, so it's the same,
Oh,
so
yeah.
in
Yep,
relation
sorry.
to naloxone and Narcan section.
What's the difference between security personnel and security coordinator? The security coordinator would be the person in charge of security?
Correct.
Okay.
That's
All right.
the,
Then, okay, all right.
Have we ever needed to use the Narcan?
not yet.
And shelf life of this Narcan?
They keep pushing it out.
We just got all
We
our.
just got all new, but like they revise if, sometimes it's hard to get it because they, like the EpiPen, sometimes they extend the usage
Yeah.
because there's a back order or whatever. So generally, I think ours expire in 24 at this point.
You get it for free from CRF.
So, okay, all right.
Yeah, we've not had to purchase any.
All right, that was my concern.
Yeah, no.
All right.
Okay. Now, can I entertain a motion?
I will make that motion to
Okay.
approve this change.
I'll second it.
Second, okay. Now, is there any discussion? Discussion on the motion on the floor? Hearing none. Motion to update our medication distribution policy as amended to include security and security coordinator as highlighted in red. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, the next item is the cell phone tower.
So, seeing how I'm newly appointed to the building committee, sworn in today, I'll be at my first meeting tomorrow, Wednesday. I'm looking at Mr. Wachowski because he's another member. There's been a need in this town for a number of years, and this is all tying into economic development, communications, just businesses in town not having any communication. There's a dead zone. As soon as you hit the heartbeat of our town, it's a dead zone from here all the way out to Rich Road in Wilsonville, all the way back till you get towards Quinnebog, sort of the American Rental Old Kenyon oil station. So after talking with some of the people in town, powers to be, I took it upon myself and contacted a cell phone tower. Come to find out, the towers that are in town, there's one on Rich Road which is aiming towards Webster, don't know why, even though it's in Connecticut. There's one over here on Route 12 near DR Masonry and the glass thing. That one's aiming towards the West Thompson Dam. And then the one that's on Quinnebog at the fire station is supposedly aiming this direction, but it's being obstructed by just the contour of the land. The one that's on Mountain Hill Road is not technically a cell phone tower, it's an emergency use and AM frequency tower. So we basically have a huge dead zone in the heartbeat of our town. So when you look at cell phone towers, you can either contact Verizon or AT&T directly, or you can go to what's called, this one happens to be Castle Tower, and they shop the tower out and they get everybody and anybody on there. AT&T, Verizon, Sprint, Snet, Dish, you name it. And they max this thing out to maximize the marketability of the tower, profitability for the town, as well as the maximum communication level. So in looking at this, we've been up here, we did a site visit last week with Castle Tower, and I'm gonna present this to the Board of Building Committee tomorrow. There's 3 locations on this property that would be ideal. One of them would be up near the water tower, which is a 400 feet above sea level elevation. The second one would be where the solar field is gonna be, which is behind Teague, to the right-hand side of the baseball field. And then the third one would be where the tennis courts are. Tennis courts are not ideal because it's near an elementary school. And it's probably not the safest thing to do with frequencies, because the frequencies would be aiming this kind of direction. So the second one would obviously be over where the solar field would be, but now you're broadcasting, again, signals across the school. So the best, most ideal spot would be, if you're driving around the 1909 building, those of us that went here for high school, our parking lot, we used to be the parking lot, which is where the fork in the road is, and then there's a little walkway down to the town hall. We own that little wood lot right there. That would be the ideal location. You have about a 350-foot elevation, which would broadcast the frequencies out across the town, which is what we need in order to connect with Rich Road. The second portion of this cell phone, which we call a triad, would be a piece of property that my cousins own. They own 700 acres. One portion of that property happens to be the second highest point in Thompson, which would then connect to this tower and connect to Rich Road, which would create the entire triad. That's what's gonna be proposed. We don't have any of the financials back on what it means for revenue to the town. What I do know is the cost to the town is 0. So, there'll be more information coming. Proposal I should have in my hand hopefully by next week. They're doing all the RF studies. They're shopping it out there right now to maximize the return for the town. So hopefully we'll have communication. It'll also help us with our economic development, because there's 2 businesses that are down in the mill that happen to be at Verizon, because I was down there because I had no service and was trying to get it fixed. They were looking to move out of town because they have no communication to get to their customers. Customers can't contact them, they can't contact the customer. How are you gonna drive business in a town if you can't communicate with your customer? So this is a no-brainer, win-win. We just need to make sure we maximize the revenue for the town.
Thank you, Tom, for.
Sorry for that
doing
short
research.
dissertation.
Tom,
Yes.
shouldn't this go to the selectmen? I didn't know you could just take something and bring it to the building committee. I thought it came through the selectmen.
So I've been in communication with the selectmen, I've been in communication with the economic development, business development department of the town. No one knew who to contact, so I said, I know who to contact, I'll spearhead it. So this being on the school property, we have to go through the school, building committee, etc., and the town will benefit. Obviously, the school cannot show revenue, so the revenue stream will hit the town no matter what.
I just wanna make sure it goes the
Yeah.
right way, cause I
No.
would hate for it not to go through, you know,
Totally,
that's all.
totally understand.
Okay.
I've literally spent last Wednesday, 2 weeks ago Wednesday at the town hall, department to department to department, to make sure I had every basis covered. And
All
they
right.
didn't know who to contact, I did, let's make it happen.
Okay, thank you, Tom.
You're welcome. You can call me when we get service.
Okay, thank you thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Because I sat down there at the bank trying to get on, to make sure I could log on to their online.
Can't do it.
Can't do it.
Exactly.
Okay, all right, so we've done the bus tracking, so now we're at their exemplary service recognition.
Did you wanna talk about the committee?
Well, okay, I'll do that. Okay. We have met as a committee, we received, I don't know how many.
Nine of them, Danielle?
8 or 9.
Eight or
Yeah, 8 or
nine.
9 recommendations.
Kathleen, who's the we? It
The
wasn't the
committee,
Board of Ed.
we had a
Okay, all
committee
right.
that consisted of some Board of Ed members, alumni members, citizen, and, yeah, Tom was on the committee as an alumni too.
Correct.
Yeah, and some citizens and some staff. And we reviewed, these 8 or 9, recommendations. And we couldn't make up our minds. we tried to narrow it down to 3. But because it was our first year, we decided I asked Tom what they did on the first year for the Hall of Fame in sports. And he informed us that what they did the first year is they came in with a big bang. They nominated 10 people that year, 10 team persons that year, so that the wall didn't look empty. And what we had intended to do was to put up two people, and there was no way we were gonna do that. So we went with five persons. And what we intend to do is have a little ceremony, prior to our June Board of Ed meeting. 6 o'clock, we'll have a little ceremony, and we'll have, pictures of the people with their little bronze plaque or something, and we'll put it in. It's going to be in the foyer where the dancer is. And, we decided not to release the names now. People will know who we are, so they come to the June. But we want to kind of keep it a little bit of a surprise for the general public. But boy, it is hard to pick.
Yeah, we had some
Really
good, we had some good.
And there were 2 parents also, PTO presidents that were.
Yep. Okay. Any questions? And we will keep those who didn't make the cut this year, their submissions will be kept for next year. We'll just keep rolling them over. All right, I will now commence with the administrator reports. Where's my sheet? Yeah, I see it. I lost my sheet. Here it is. I retyped it in order. Oh. Nate, you're up first. You still on with us, Nate?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. So, yeah, my voice is a little bit shot, but, first off, obviously, Beauty and the Beast, huge, I thought a success. I thought, Kate Anderson, Tom Edwards, I thought Danielle, Superintendent did a great job. I know the kids, I thought there was a lot of communities came out to it. It was a really good event. I was there for Sunday's performance. But I also thought the kids took a lot of pride in it. This year we're really trying to reestablish something for a lot, so I was really, really pleased with that. It kind of, not only was it talk going into it, but even the weekend and a half afterward, it was still the talk. Miss Tupai has done a great job with FBLA and junior achievement. They went up to Nichols, FBL up to Nichols, and had a competition. Actually, Evan's still there. You know, Evan and Taylor tied for first. And Hannah, Claire, and Dylan tied for second. You know, with teams from Kinley, they did a great job up there. And I just wanted to kind of give, my plan was to give them a shout out in person, but unfortunately I'm not there to give them a shout out in person. They did a great job. And I know Deb's going to talk a lot about athletics, but our baseball team has kind of started off really hot. And I'm proud of our girls softball team and our track team. And I know we've talked a lot about participation and things like that, but you know, the girls and the softball team are giving it, you know, one heck of an effort. They're out there. I see them out there practicing every day. They're going hard. And I just wanted to kind of give a second and tell them, you know, how proud we are of them. You know, and the track team, which is working hard as well. And maybe the numbers aren't really big where normally be, but you know, the kids are just working tremendously hard, and I wanted to make sure that they got kudos for that. So, you know, outside of that, everything else is going strong for a lot. We're making advances. Happy about where we are. I know some of my colleagues are there. I'm sure they'll pick up some of the slack. Thank you guys very, very much.
Thank you. Dr. Mayor. Okay, next up,
Good evening, everyone. So, with our PBIS, I just want to congratulate, this month we had an interesting challenge going on. We had 5th grade versus 6th grade and 7th grade versus 8th grade. So congratulations to our 6th grade team, Yukon and Eastern Connecticut State, for earning a total of 23,829 points. And Team Harvard 7th grade for earning a total of 15,367 points. We'd also like to recognize our Holy Cross Life Skills class for earning 10,430 points. So we are really increasing. I don't know if you guys are following, but every month our points are rising and rising, which shows that we are having more and more team spirit and kids involving themselves into the PBIS system, which is awesome for school spirit. Big shout out to our grade 6 for their wax museum participation. The kids have been doing an outstanding job, narrowing down to their 2-minute presentations, and kudos to the teachers who've been really preparing them for it. And I know for the parents as well and guardians that have really been practicing with the kids, it's really evident that they've been doing a lot of practicing. Shout out to our PTO, who's doing a phenomenal job raising money for our 8th graders to have a spectacular day on June 1st. And I'm really excited to report that our grade 5 is going on a field trip to Mystic Aquarium, so kind of gets us back into that feeling of the good things that are going on. And Teague is working with our grade 6 students on some bullying workshops. That's it for the middle school.
Thank you. Larry, what's happening down at elementary?
Hi folks, good evening. Once again, another big shout out to Amelia Hoshigan and Colin Peckham for winning the CAPS award. That ceremony was held at Kinley High School on March 31st. 2 really well-deserving kids. In addition to that, we had 2 middle school students and 2 high school students. So just a really nice night for those individuals. 4th grade had a field trip to Mystic Aquarium on March 25th. Thank you to Amanda Zador and the 4th grade team, of course, for organizing that. The 2nd grade team had an in-school field trip this past month, and they were visited by Project Oceanology, excuse me. And thank you to Ellen Pratt for organizing that event. Great job to the Mary R. Fisher students and teachers for executing a great district-wide lockdown drill on March 23rd. Safety first, they did a great job. It lasted longer than normal, but the kids did a nice job and the teachers did a nice job as well. We have a new EL English language teacher, Simone, excuse me, Simone Sorelli. She's hit the ground running and doing a great job. Shout out to Jill Burbo and Ann Miller. We recently met to address student absence and truancy as a district, so that's going well. And then SBAC testing is taking place in early May, and good luck, of course, to all the students that are going to participate in that. And of course, Beauty and the Beast, just phenomenal job, really. Great job all the way around. So.
It was, you can't say enough about it.
Yeah, you
That
really
was
can't. They
fabulous.
just did a
That was
tremendous job,
fabulous.
really, yeah. Thank you.
Chris.
Good evening, excuse me. So as Superintendent Smith said, our total student population is 927 students, of which 229 students are currently eligible under special education. Our 504s are up from 81 up to 82. Out of district is currently at 28, that's 1 up from last month. Bradley School, Windham County is currently at 20 students. We actually had 1 start today, so that would put us at 21, but at the time of this report, it was 20. 12 from Thompson, 4 from Putnam, 1 from Killingly, 2 from Brooklyn, 1 from Plainfield. 4 pending determined eligibilities. So the total percentage is 24.7%, which is up from 24.49%. Open positions in the district, we're still looking for 4 paraprofessionals. We just hired a nurse for the middle school for a one-on-one position. And we are close to hiring a speech and language pathologist district-wide. our safety care training. We have 2 certified staff in the elementary school, 7 certified staff in the middle school. The high school began their certification this weekend and will continue on to the 16th. Security team will take place on the 23rd and the 30th. The IDEA grant 611 and 619 was submitted, came back needing some revisions, so I'm currently working on those. And then just a point of emphasis, ESY will take place on July 5th and run through August 5th. That's Monday through Thursday from 8 to 12.
All right, at this point, I'd like to welcome Bill Steglitz, our Director of Finance. Do you have anything that you want to update us on?
It's been a heck of a week. I'm 1 week in today. Obviously, I won't be able to speak to the numbers from last month, but I understand you guys have received the presentation prepared by my predecessor. If you do have any questions, please let me know and I can dig into those and get an answer for you. One thing I would like to say, some words of thanks to Michelle and to Danielle for really welcoming me in on the school side. We've been running around the building, meeting folks, really getting me acclimated. And also, frankly, to the staff in the finance department, they've been terrific in letting me know and kind of educating me on how we do things here and frankly, doing some brainstorming about how things can improve. So there are some ideas floating around. It's very early yet, but it's been great. And also actually down on the town side too, I've had the opportunity, I know this is the Board of Ed, but down on the town side, I've had the opportunity to run around to some of the departments across town. And I gotta say, I never knew so much about water pollution control. So that was actually pretty intriguing. So thanks for a few minutes, but that's where I'm at.
Okay, well, we'll get to you later with the budget transfers too. Okay, thanks, Bill.
Great.
Be prepared for next month.
Yeah. Got it.
Is Bill with us tonight? No. No, okay. All right, Heather, what's happening in the world of technology?
Good evening. Last month we resolved 191 tickets. Doesn't really ever slow down in our department. We had a few trainings that I scheduled this month and upcoming with our Tyler system. We're working on some scheduling up in the high school because we have a lot of new people up there, new administrators. So Danette and myself are joining them to learn all about student course requests and getting their schedules into the Tyler system. Munis, our financial system, I have dates set now to upgrade that. In July, we're going to be upgrading Test. In September, we're going to be training everyone at the town and the school. And then finally in October, we're going to be going live. So there'll be quite a lot of work involved in that with Mr. Steglitz. We're upgrading one of our servers over April break, which hopefully will go seamlessly. Nobody should notice anything when they come back. We have one student in the high school transition program working with us 3 days a week, preparing Chromebooks. He's basically taking all of our, he's doing kind of an inventory and making, I don't know, 2 Chromebooks into one, if you will, I guess, repairing screens and keyboards. So it's much appreciated with him. I attended a technology roundtable discussion presented by Learn, just with my fellow tech directors. We had a presentation from Defined Learning, which was a project-based learning platform offered by the state. I attended several of the Naviance meetings that we're getting ready to launch May 1st. And finally, a shout out to the high school esports team who actually finished 46th out of 732 across the country. And next week, they're going to be playing in the national playoffs. So Travis Canoyer is the coach for that. I should have gotten all the student names, I apologize, but it's a really cool accomplishment. So we hope to grow along in that program in the future. So thank you.
Thank you. That's great. Michelle.
Good evening. My update is not as exciting as theirs, but the Thompson Public School handbook is 90% complete.
I have a handful of pages that I need to partner with the secretaries of all the schools in IT to finish that up, and then I'll give that to Melinda to go over. I've attended 2 virtual college career fairs, and I have 2 more in the works for potential candidates. Melinda kind of stole my thunder on that one. And I'm working with the town to have a combined health and wellness fair for both the town and the school up here in May. I have Patrick Kewen, who is helping me for the school, and Marie Monge and Lynn Landry for the town, so that we can combine everything and have a really great fair. So, happy Easter, everybody.
Shannon, do you have anything else besides COVID to update us on?
Sure. 55 pairs of glasses were dispensed today by the optician, sorry, the optician. He came, there's 4 kids that were absent today, but a lot of the kids were very excited because they could see. Yeah, it was fun to watch them. They were all wearing glasses. Everybody was talking about Beauty and the Beast. They were telling the optician about it. Everybody was excited. So yeah, that's.
How many of those 55 kids have never had glasses before? All of them?
No. So anybody who was wearing glasses automatically qualified to have a pair. I would say probably 10 kids, maybe 12, that didn't have them, and they were excited when they were screened months ago that they were gonna get glasses.
Yeah.
There were probably a handful, maybe 5 kids that had broken glasses, and so now they have new glasses, and everybody's new glasses, pretty much. There's 2 girls that just got new glasses, and now they'll have a second pair.
Yep.
But most of them were like surprised at what they could see after they got their new glasses.
Yep.
And the new glasses have anti-glare on them. I mean, that's expensive for a lot of people to have.
Mhm.
So the kids were excited,
That's great.
driving at night, and so it was fun.
Thank you.
That was the high school, the elementary are coming.
May?
May, and the middle school in May.
Yeah.
Okay. Great, that's awesome.
Did we-
That's a good, wonderful program.
Kathleen, did we
Yes.
approve funding for that for next year too?
So they
Trying to
don't
remember.
recommend they come every year anyway, but we use just for 2 monies, remember? And I'm in the process actually of amending that grant. I talked to Bill this morning about that, so that we get that amount covered, but they didn't recommend us doing it every year.
So on the off years, the Lions Club will come and screen the kids.
Yep.
And then we would send notification home to a parent if the screening didn't go well, if they failed the screening, they'll go see their own eye doctor. And I did talk to the Lions Club, about coming on the off years, that we were gonna be doing this program, and they were fine with it, coming on the off years.
And they're also, their mission is to continue to fundraise and get, donors, so that, the cost isn't as high as the beginnings of the program.
Right.
Typically, insurance companies only cover every other year for vision tests. Except for when you reach a certain age, then you have to start getting tested every year.
For a lot of things.
Hey, Deb, what's happening in the wide world of sports?
Well, Nate already gave you the update, other than he forgot golf, Nate, which opened today, so I don't know how they did. Yesterday, I was at the AquaTurf because Kaylin Griggs won scholarship from Connecticut Girls Soccer Association, so she was there to receive that. And also my team, the girls soccer team, won the state sportsmanship award, so I brought Mackenzie Manerick, and she and Kaylin went up and received the award. And that's basically it. Middle school's been starting, they're in like the 3rd game today. They were at Killenly today, I'm not sure how that played out, but. And track for both high school and middle school, their first meets this week. That's it.
Very good, great. We have some stars. Okay, that's the administrative reports. Looks like we have Integrity Plus coming up. That's on the 27th of April in the Riscavage Auditorium at 7 o'clock. If you haven't been to this event, I strongly suggest you go. Unfortunately, I will not be able to attend this year. Howdy and friends.
Oh.
But I typically go since I've been on the board, and it's a great event. It's a really great event. So all of the new board members and any other board members that can attend, please do. It's a great event. It recognizes students not only on their academic achievements or their athletic achievements, it recognizes them because they are all around good citizens. Okay.
Danielle, will there be a invite coming that we have to RSVP to, or I'm trying to remember?
That is your invite. I'm not sure if it says to RSVPs to somebody specific, but you can always let me know.
All right.
And I'll relay it to the teacher in charge.
Yeah, but please, if you can possibly go, because it's a great, and especially since it's the 20th annual one. Yeah, please go. And I will wave to you from Paris. Okay, anybody have any old business? Anything to add to old business? Then we'll move on to new business.
Kathleen, could I add, letter C to new business, the approval of the secretary's contract?
Okay, C.
So I'll make a motion just to add it to the agenda, please.
I'll second that, okay. Okay, we have a motion to add an item C under new business to, approve the secretary's, can you state that again? It wasn't
The
a-
secretary's contract.
Okay. Which we don't have in front of us, do we? We don't, no.
It was ratified by
Yeah.
the secretary, so we just need to approve it. The sooner we do it, the better.
Okay. We don't have that in front of us. All right. There's a motion on the floor to approve the secretary's contract, which they ratified this
It's
afternoon.
just to add it to the agenda.
Oh, to add it to the agenda.
That was my
I'm sorry.
motion, just add it to the
To
agenda.
add it to
for
the
now.
agenda, you're right, I'm sorry. To add to the agenda, approval of the secretary's contract. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Then we're adding item C to the agenda. Approval of the secretary's contract. Okay. First one is approval of the new finance director as an authorized signer for food service reimbursement.
Okay, I'm going to read just a little bit again. Okay, this is regarding the authorized signatures change form that whenever the superintendent or the finance director is replaced, this needs to happen in order for the finance director will be approving my reimbursement totals on the CSE's website. So, the ED 099 agreement for child nutrition is the formal agreement between a sponsoring organization and the CSDE to operate one or more of the USDA child nutrition programs. When the sponsoring organization's agreement was approved, 2 originals were signed by the sponsoring organization and the CSDE. 1 original was returned to the sponsoring organization. The agreement designates representatives authorized to enter into an agreement with the CSDE and sign the claims for reimbursement. The agreement is permanent and amended as changes occur. The CSDE recognizes that one or both of the authorized signers will change periodically. The sponsoring organization must execute the authorized signatures change form whenever there is a change to either of the 2 authorized signers. And this is a new form as of April 2021. I didn't realize we had to do this Board of Ed thing. This is something new. So, claims for reimbursement are valid only when signed by authorized signers on file with the CSDE. Action by the Board of Ed must occur to make changes to authorized signers so that claims can be signed and submitted and reimbursement delays are avoided. So basically, the authorized signatures change form must include information. So if this is approved, we'll send the minutes to the state and they'll approve it, and then everything will just keep flowing. So basically the signature, there's 3 signatures. Signer 1 is the designated rep authorized to sign the agreement for child nutrition programs and to sign claims for reimbursement, Melinda. The person is head of the governing body, the chief officer elected or appointed to assume legal responsibility for the organization. Signer number 2 is authorized only to sign the claims for reimbursement in the absence or incapacity of the first designated individual. Director of Finance. You'll be the second signature. Third signature certifies the board action and is not authorized to sign the claim. This must be a different person from signatures 1 and 2. So Secretary of the board will be the third signer. Okay. And Danielle, do you have the form with you?
I do.
So it'll be signed by Melinda, Bill, and Heather?
Mhm.
And then I'll get it to the state. And that will ensure that all of our reimbursement checks will come in a timely fashion.
Yeah, she needs a motion to authorize.
I would like to propose a motion that we change those approvals as recommended.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion to amend the form, add our new finance director as an authorized signer for food service reimbursement. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll put the motion to the floor for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any no, anyone opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes. And you have the form filled out, signed, okay. Okay, we have some budget transfers that have been
Do you wanna do C?
proposed.
No.
The last page of our package.
So Kathleen, Chairman Herbert, we recommended tabling the budget transfers that were recommended by the previous finance director because we haven't had time, Bill and I, to review those. So we're tabling those. However, our athletic director, Deb Spinelli, needed to move some lines around. So you see the memo that's on the last page of your packet. And if you have any questions about the rationale, she can certainly answer.
I'll make a motion that we transfer line 1 and 2 for a total of $15,000 into the corresponding accounts.
I would second that.
Second that, okay. We have a motion to do these budget transfers in the athletic department. Any discussion on these?
My only discussion was gonna be the previous ones. I was wondering what happened there, but it makes perfect sense to let Bill go.
Right. Okay, okay. No discussion, so I'll put the motion to the floor for a vote. All in favor of doing these transfers, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition, say no. Any abstentions? Motion passes, we'll make these transfers. We have now an item C, which is to approve the secretary's contract that they revised, that they ratified today.
I'd like to make a motion that the board approves the contract as part of the negotiation committee. I think it's a good contract, and I can explain it in discussion if you want later, but I suggest that we approve it.
I'll second that as part of the committee that was on the negotiations, so I'll second that motion.
We have a motion to approve the secretary's contract. Now, call for discussion.
we don't have it in front of us, but it's a 3-year contract that's retroactive to last July. It calls for a 1.25 increase, a 1.75% increase, and a 1.25 increase in the 3rd year, plus step if there are any on step. And they also, this year, their insurance copays stay the same. They go up each year by 1%, 1.1%. And that's basically the whole thing.
Yeah, for a total of 3 years, I believe was 6.93 in total.
The total in with step and increases was like a 6.8.
Yeah, 6.83.
Which was,
8.3,
I
yeah.
think,
It was under-
below the state average a
Right.
little bit.
Right.
Just below the state average, less than 7 over 3 years.
And I would like to thank the secretaries for the negotiations. They did a nice job, and they were forthcoming, and they were good to work with.
We probably would have had it resolved sooner if there wasn't such changeover in representation on all sides, but no, it's been a very good contract year, very professional and well done by all contracts.
And they did ratify it earlier today, so they agreed to it.
Question, how many secretaries are there? 8. Okay.
It was give and take on both sides, so it was a very fair contract, I think, for everyone.
There was some nice language concessions too.
Yeah. Okay. Any more discussion?
Thank you to the committee for doing that.
Okay, so, all in favor, I'm gonna put the motion to the floor to ratify the secretary's contract. All in favor of ratifying this contract, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Oh, we're done for a little while.
August.
August, wow, it's a little while.
Get a little break.
All right. Do we have any correspondence? No, none, all right. Any additional,
I did have a parent reach out in regards again to the high school bathroom situation. So I was wondering if we could get an update on that. I didn't know when was the proper time to ask, but I did.
Dr. Mayo?
Well, what's the question? Sorry?
I received a email of discern about the bathroom situation in the high school, so I just wanted to see what the update of the progress
Can
made.
you just be more clear as to what the email stated? Because really, to be honest with you, kids in a group.
Apparently
I'm
the
confused as to
student
what the issue is.
holds their bladder the whole day because they don't feel comfortable using the bathroom with somebody.
Okay. They're not really being held out there, so, I mean, unless that's an old email from a while back, really isn't happening anymore.
Okay, I just wanted to see what the status was at this point. If there's still a student that's not wanting to use the
That hasn't
bathroom.
relaxed, we still have staff on outside, students are still expected to sign in at the bathroom.
So, can I make a comment? So, I didn't receive an email, but I will tell you that I'm hearing conflicting stories. I'm hearing conflicting stories from staff, I'm hearing conflicting stories from students. So, can we have a clear understanding of what guidelines are still in place from somebody?
Students are expected to sign in at the bathroom. They'll be allowed to go in small groups, not large groups, but we have not made anybody wait for the bathroom for probably shortly after Christmas, January, February was probably the last time we really had people out there waiting for the bathroom.
So not to, I want to say it politely, but,
Don't say it politely, just say it.
well, I'm going to professionally dispute what you just said, because there's been certain functions that I've gone to and I've asked or was told, let's just put it this way, I was told first by the students, hey, you're on the Board of Ed. Why am I still waiting at the bathroom? So, obviously, inquisitive minds, I ask them and they tell you. So, we have a lot of friends that are also teachers, and I've asked them, and I'm hearing complete opposite from what I just heard.
Well, you have my staff there too, Tom, you can ask them as well,
Yeah.
Deb's office is right outside of there, and Shannon walks through the hallway, she'll be able to tell you as well.
Yep, no, listen, I that's why there's always 2 and 3 sides to the story, but Shannon, can you
I have cameras
shed
in
some
my
light?
office and I watch it pretty much almost around the clock myself.
I think,
Say that again, I'm sorry?
I said I have cameras in my office too, so when I'm in my office, I even watch it when I'm in my office. Make sure that people are not waiting.
In the hall.
Oh, all right, I'm like, wait a minute.
Just to clarify, so loud enough, your cameras are in the hallway, not the bathroom, because we know what's gonna happen with that.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Loitering out there. If I do see that, I walk down and we disperse them and I go get the bathroom and stuff. But I don't see kids, I have not seen kids waiting in, we're in April now, I mean, it had to be probably around February break, the last time I think I remember walking down there talking about waiting.
can I
Shannon, help.
clarify what I think your complaint was?
Yeah.
The student that you got the complaint on is holding their bladder because they're not comfortable going into the bathrooms because of what's going on in the bathrooms.
That, and then who's monitoring them, I guess, they just don't feel comfortable with. So I'm kinda just trying to understand, is there somebody in the bathroom with them? Is there a teacher?
No.
It's
No.
just one at a time kind of thing?
There's a teacher stationed out, very often it's me, outside the bathroom, sitting at a desk, just monitoring the students, signing in and out.
Okay.
All right, so here's my issue. We have a small group of students that are disrupting the entire school system. So I'm proposing, when do we take back our school? Get this small group of students that are either vaping or whatever they're doing, and call them on the carpet. Get their parents in here, bring them before the Board of Ed, and let's end this once and for all.
Or impose maybe stricter suspensions and they have to use a certain bathroom?
It's a shame that there's a small group that is driving our regular population to, these standards. It's crazy.
So we are working on things. We have brought in parents and we have brought in the police when necessary. We have pressed charges.
I think it's great,
And
honestly.
so that has all happened. The situation with vaping, however, is first of all, catching the person in the act. Students can conceal those pieces on their body that we're not going to do searches of that nature. So finding a student and getting a student caught in the act is very important. And so those students that have been identified, which we had one most recently, we are moving toward pressing those charges, and unfortunately, for those individuals, they have court dates. So we are pushing that, because we want to end it once and for all. We do have some other strategies that we're hoping to implement soon. But I will tell you, I'm in that high school all the time. And I go by that area outside Deb's office, and yes, you're right, in January, February, there was a line. And students were waiting in a line. I haven't seen that in months now. And believe me, I've been trekking back and forth because I was back and forth dropping things off in the auditorium at all kinds of hours. So I haven't seen that. But we do know that there are activities that are happening in the bathroom. We can't put someone in the bathroom, we can't put a camera in the bathroom. But we can date and time stamp things, and that's why students are signing in and out. They sign in and out at the middle school as well. That has been common practice at the middle school since I can't remember when. So that way we have some evidence as to who went in the bathroom, and then we can start our investigation. But I will tell you that we're not sitting on our hands when it comes to, if we identify a student, that student is going to be brought to, especially if there's some illegal activity going on. We are calling the police. We're not sitting, ignoring it. Let's put it that way. So.
And listen, I'm all for that. Again, I just feel that we need to have a movement, which is take back our school.
Correct.
Well, and if I can jump in for 1 second, this is not just a Thompson issue.
I agree.
I'm in meetings with principals all through the ECC once a month, and almost always on the agenda is how do we deal with vaping. Every high school up and down the east coast of Connecticut is dealing with this right now. I mean, it's a national thing. It's not even just a Connecticut thing. Because obviously the marijuana is becoming legalized, it's becoming a whole issue. But what each school is struggling with this. There was a principal who I was on a call with about 2 weeks ago who was talking about having his staff who loops through the bathroom in between classes, just to try to make sure that no one was congregating and they're trying to figure out when they were dabbing in there and things like that. So it's not just a Thompson issue. It's every meeting, once a month we have these principal meetings, and every meeting it's probably second, third agenda on the item on the agenda as far as what we have to talk about.
Yeah, Nate, I don't dispute that at all. I mean, the thing that's been nice about Thompson is we've been on the forefront of many situations. We've taken the higher road than other towns. And if there's anything that we can do to start precedents, I mean, it's just a shame that there's a small group and it's dictating the course of action for the entire school.
And I think we have something coming. And I think once that comes in, you guys know, I think everything's going to become a little bit better and a little bit easier. It's just waiting for those things to arrive.
I mean, I can tell you right now that, I mean, obviously anonymity, but I can tell you right now there's a few cars that are out in that parking lot that are dealers. And I say, you know what, it's school grounds, we have a zero policy, zero tolerance. Bring the state police up with the dogs. Don't tell them when, it's our school.
We've done that in the past, and we.
I bring them up here every week. Don't even tell them what day, bring them up.
I think just for me, I just wanted to have an answer and clarity, because I think we definitely need to come up with a more permanent strategy that parents, students, everybody's just all on the same page, really. So I just know that you guys had to be aggressive with it, but, it's just more of when I get these questions, to have the proper answer was more of.
I just wanna be clear that we are following through with, the consequences. I mean, suspending a student is one thing, but bringing a student back in, doing some education with them and their families is one portion of the strategy that we have to use. But we are, in the last incident, unfortunately, that person has a court date. And that's unfortunate, but that's what we have to do. We have to take aggressive steps to make sure that the student body is safe and that everybody's following the rules.
Right, and they can see action and reaction.
So will that student be expelled?
So I can't talk about that publicly, but that student has got a consequence based on that student's profile. Deb wants to say something.
The line is outside my room, my office. There's rarely a line. The only time that you see more than 2 kids standing there waiting would be directly after lunch when they come up from last period. Otherwise, there is not a line. They have my office, they have the handicap bathrooms, they have the main offices, the main bathroom areas. They are not standing, and Shannon's office. So the ones who are complaining, Tom, are the ones who may want to go in there and do whatever it is that they're not supposed to be doing.
And that's when I say, you know what?
And I don't think you,
consequences.
and you think I think it's bigger than you think it is.
Listen,
So I'm saying that what's going on is handling the situation. And kids, before, were uncomfortable going in because there were 3 and 4 kids standing in there, making it uncomfortable for them to go in so they wouldn't go to the bathroom at all. So where did you hear about that?
Yeah.
No. So I think that
Actually, I
what
did.
we're doing is working and it's needed for what we have to deal with.
And listen, I understand that if dogs come in here, let's just say we had drug sniffing dogs, there's gonna be some very popular kids, and there's gonna be some not so popular kids. But you know what? We have a 0 tolerance, and it's time that we do something at our school. I'm telling you, the stuff that I'm hearing that's going on in the parking lot is BS. And look, I wasn't an angel when I came here, but times were different. Times were different.
People have been smoking in the bathroom since forever, when they
Yeah.
were bad.
But it's, you know, when I also hear parents say that, look, my kid is up there, that's your issue. That's wrong. There needs to be responsibility on the parent side. Because just because little Johnny and little Susie are here, they're still, the last name is your last name. So I don't agree with that, and I'll tell the parents that too. I don't believe that. It's a partnership. And that's where it's wrong, because our administration, our teachers and whatever, they're not the parents of these kids. Yes, they may be mentors, but it's a partnership with the families. And that's, I think we've lost that, and it's no fault to our, it's just different mandates and everything else that are out there. And everyone has a cell phone, and everyone's gonna take a picture, and someone's career could be tarnished because they're trying to do a discipline, which is, I think it's wrong on the parent side. So I'm with you guys, that we've gotta do something to take back our school. End of my soapbox, sorry.
Can I ask a question in regards to
Struck a
that?
nerve.
So, to Tom's point, what would be the process if we were to bring in the state police to do a sweep?
We've done that before.
We have.
We have. It's getting them here, which takes an act of God. But I can certainly talk to Sergeant Cody, who is our liaison, and ask him to bring in the dogs, have them search the parking lot. I won't know when, it's when the dogs are available. But we have done that pre-pandemic, when we had a similar situation going on. And we can certainly do it again.
Is there a fee associated with that?
No. No, they use it as a training exercise for the canines. And we can certainly look into that, and I concur with Dr. Mayo. It's always a topic among area superintendents who have high schools. Although middle school principals are also experiencing the same thing. We've experienced that at our middle school as well. And so, you know, staying on top of it, knowing who's going in and out of the bathrooms at what time, making sure the hall cameras are all operational, which they are. You know, we found some dead zones that we'd like to increase some surveillance cameras in hallways and things that have a better angle on the bathroom. So we're hoping to put in a few more cameras. That's gonna fill up our server, and then Heather's gonna say we need another server. But we are definitely looking at that, and we are looking at, hoping another security grant comes out so that we can upgrade the entire camera system, because the technology has changed, and they have a lot of functionality now that, our newer cameras that we've been put in are much better with focus and angles and those kinds of things. So that is on our agenda to do. But yes, we can certainly look into having random checks.
On the random check idea, has anybody town or school-wise reached out to, or like the drug and the DARE? Not even DARE, I'm trying to think of like the person that would go into a gas station and try to buy something that they're not supposed to at the wrong age, because I
our local gas stations are selling to minors.
All of them.
So, you know, maybe that might be something on the town side too that we could look into having, because I know some of our kids are within walking distance of a gas station that I've heard has been selling to minors, so that could also be.
And again, it's
Or
changed.
the drug admin, like there's some people that.
Yeah,
some
tobacco
people-
and.
Right,
yeah.
somebody will come in, cause I used to work at a pharmacy and. Yeah, and if I didn't card somebody and I sold them cigarettes, like, you know, like somebody would come in or something, so something like that.
I'll inquire on the.
I know
board, see
Chief
if
D
that
has like a
helps.
quality life
Yeah.
task force or something that
Yeah.
specifically does
Right.
narcotics and
Right.
drug stuff, so.
No, but I know what you're talking about,
Yeah.
Danielle, as far as it's just, it's
Right.
not so much a criminal agency, it's a, yeah, hey,
Right.
you're
Yes.
selling, you're
Yeah.
not carding somebody buying
Right,
cigarettes.
right,
So you're
right.
selling cigarettes to a 16-year-old,
Right.
that's not, you know,
Right. So,
right.
and then the gas station would give.
Right, so it's not a-
reprimanded. So, you know, and I've heard from many parents that kids are lying. So. As a thought out there.
Some towns have ordinances where they can't sell this stuff, so maybe that should go to our select board, to the
Yeah.
ordinance committee.
Okay, any other comments, citizen board? Yes.
Yeah, I just, my name's John Gaudian, I'm a school bus monitor, excuse me, so I've had the opportunity to ride with all the different drivers and stuff, and you'll never meet a more devoted group of people than our bus drivers. And I know there's all kinds of stories going around, and I know if anybody goes onto social media, you'll realize, or you'll read about how terrible our bus drivers are, and how they're never on time, and, you know, we abuse the children and all that. And I would just like to say, since you're making it a point to make sure all the parents have cards or something so that they know how to get in touch with the buses or the bus depot, that those parents also take the time to go back and reread the student handbooks that says, you know, be out 5 minutes before and stay out for 5 minutes after. One of the biggest complaints we get day after day is, you just went by my house and you didn't stop. Well, you know, we did. You weren't there, and you know, kids weren't out. We've got a lot of buses that will stop, and then you have a child that's walking a half a mile from their house down to the bus, and meanwhile the bus is sitting there, and that takes time, which then makes you late for the next stop, which makes you late for the next stop, and after a while people start calling in, and then it's the stupid bus drivers that aren't doing their job. So if you can just kind of pass along, that would be wonderful. My second question is the gates at the school. What is the purpose? To hold the shooter in, or to keep buses and cops out, or?
If I was on the building committee and all that, if there is an emergency, you can imagine 900 parents are gonna try to drive up here.
Right.
The gates will be closed so that traffic cannot come up here.
Including the buses?
That will be determined by the state police.
Okay, because our evacuation system in place has the buses
But
coming.
the state police will direct that, and they'll let buses go by if buses need to go by. It's to keep the traffic out, because then that would be a total nightmare where the evacuation buses cannot get up the hill.
Okay, and what about the parents that will then park at down at the bottom of the hill and get out of their cars?
So be it, then that's up to the police to
Okay.
move them along.
It almost just seemed backwards to.
Now, if you think about it, it makes a lot of
Okay.
sense.
Okay.
But some people can't understand, because you could walk up, and nobody cares if you walk up.
Well, I wasn't, I mean, that part I
Cars out.
understood. It's not too
Yeah.
hard to go around the gates, but it just seemed backwards to me to prevent the cops from coming out.
They will be.
They have access, they'll have access.
They can get in, they'll.
Through the gate?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all
Okay.
controlled.
Okay. Thank you.
As a parent, I just wanna wanna say something positive about the high school. Not as a staff member, but as a parent. My son has chosen to pursue the manufacturing pipeline through Mike Joyce's tutelage, and he has a interview on Thursday at Spiral. And he is all set up with his classes for the manufacturing program to start in the fall.
That's amazing.
And he's excited.
Very good.
Thank you.
Anything else? Anyone else?
I just want to apologize for getting on a soapbox. But
You have to
I just.
apologize every time you did that, Tom.
I know. I mean, it's just, you know, it's just, you know, you become very passionate about the school when there's a lot of lineage and just, you know, it's just, I know we're in changing times. I'll just leave it at that.
And very challenging times that we have never faced as educators, that we are responding to and trying to do a logical way to handle the volume of behaviors that we're seeing coming out of this pandemic. And it has been a challenging year. We've never had a fire alarm pulled in the 5 years I've been here, and this year we've had 3.
Right.
One was an accident, but the other 2 were intentional. So you can see, just that alone this year, it has been quite challenging. He said they should get an office up here. I welcome it, please get one. But they've been up here because we call them. And it's unfortunate. We need to support the students and their families, but we also have to keep a well-disciplined school environment. And I think
But
everybody's.
vice versa too, Melinda, the families need to support the school with respect, you know, both ways.
We know that.
Yeah.
And we also know they're frustrated, and so we're doing the best we can to navigate that. It's not always perfect.
Yeah.